Oh, the flow of the century. We are living in remarkable times in the world of boxing. Instead of seeing Terence Crawford versus Boots after Canelo has denied him, y'all saying that Canelo Alvarez should still be the target for Bud Crawford. What sense does that even make? What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more. Listen, Keyshawn Davis did a brand spanking new interview. And in that interview, he said something which I felt I should address in this video. Subscribe. In this brand new interview, he was at the New York fights, I believe. O'Shaquie fought. Congratulations on his victory. And Keyshawn was in the crowd. Fight Hype got an interview with him. And basically, they were, and I'm just paraphrasing because you guys can find the interview online. I'm paraphrasing, but the host, the reporter, said, "Hey, Keyshawn, what do you make of the news coming from Canelo?" He basically stated that, why should I fight Bud Crawford? He's 21 pounds lighter than me. And if I win versus Terence Crawford, I will get no credit. They'll say I fought a smaller man. So basically all the upside is there for Terence Crawford, but I assume all of the risk, and he assumes none of the risk. So therefore Canelo ruled that out. I've made videos about that. Check those on the channel. But wait, there's more. So that wasn't good enough, at least for Keyshawn Davis. In this interview, Keyshawn Davis is basically stating, it sounds like excuses to me. That's what Keyshawn Davis said. He says, he said Canelo, and this is funny because I do this YouTube thing, right? And there's a lot of people who, now people want a podcast. Now people, like, you're even seeing fighters get online and, want to voice their opinion, or former fighters, things like that. I speak with such a neutral platform. Like, there's no love lost to any fighter. I'm not in cahoots with the fighter to the point where I can't speak my opinion, those kind of things. And that's not the same for everybody, I guess you could say. So the funny thing, to me at least, is, Keyshawn, he looks up to a guy like Terence Crawford. That's his big bro. No problem with that. But to think that the opinion coming from him won't be biased, knowing that they're a tight circle, him, Shakur, and Keyshawn, is laughable. And then when I do my videos, some of the Bud buddies, they come in and say, "Oh, you're being biased, Ego." So the guy that's in cahoots or in camp and trained by the same trainer, Bomac, his opinion is not biased, only mine. And I have no horse in the race. I've covered Crawford fights, I've covered Arrow fights, etc. And I've done my job immaculately, no matter who and whose fight I was covering, right? So I just wanted to note that. But Keyshawn Davis says, it sounds like excuses to me. It sounds like Canelo doesn't want to fight against my boy Bud Crawford. That's basically what he's saying in this interview. For me, this whole Canelo, because I've seen it from fans as well, this whole theory, Canelo is afraid of a man who's a great fighter, but 21 pounds, 21, can you do something for me? Yeah. The guy that's 3 divisions underneath him, to make it sound like Canelo, who's been fighting since age 15 in Mexico, and then has fought like elite level for quite some time, to make it sound like he's afraid, to me, I can't see that. Now, again, what Canelo stated makes a whole lot of sense, at least to me. But again, I'm neutral and I'm objective. Canelo Alvarez is assuming all of the risk. some people are saying, oh, Canelo doesn't want to fight him because Crawford can win. I mean, it's boxing. Anybody can win at any point in time, you know? So, yeah, Crawford, there's a chance he can win. But what he's saying actually makes sense here. If you look at Canelo's last fight versus Jermell Charlo, I didn't even want to see that fight. And this is a guy who was 2 divisions, not 3, 2 divisions underneath Canelo Alvarez, right? And he didn't really get credit for that win. He didn't make shockwaves in that particular fight by fighting Jermell Charlo. Like, if you look at it, people are just like, Like, I really didn't even hear much. Like, Crawford got a lot of credit for beating Errol Spence. Gervonta got a lot of credit for beating Ryan Garcia. You know, even Devin Haney, who had a close fight, you know, he got credit for defeating Lomachenko, even though that was close. You didn't really see people give a bunch of credit to Canelo Alvarez for beating the much smaller Jermell Charlo. So Canelo is right. What type of credit would Canelo get if he really beats a guy that was 21 pounds underneath him? So to me, it sounds like a cherry pick, right? And I know the word is overused. I understand that people are like, hey, how would it be a cherry pick if Crawford's coming up 3 weight classes? It's a cherry pick. It's an advanced cherry pick. That's what I like to call it. Because Crawford is not entertaining no other threats at 168, right? David Benavidez, David Morrell Jr. He only wants the cash cow and the guy who actually started in the smaller weight classes, who has shown some slippage, and he's probably taller than Canelo, even though Canelo has moved up. So that's the only one fight you want. My suggestion, I don't want to see Canelo versus Crawford. I mean, I'll watch it if there's nothing else on or whatever to support boxing, but that's not a fight I need to see. And my suggestion is very simple, and I seem to be the only one suggesting this. If Crawford is not like trying to just cherry pick in terms of pick the guy you want, who you think you match up well with in that higher division, which again gives Canelo Alvarez less to gain than you, we'll just say that, right? Then why doesn't Crawford move up and fight David Benavidez? David Benavidez and you are both looking for the same thing, a shot at Canelo. So why doesn't Crawford and Benavidez fight, and then the winner fights against Canelo Alvarez, right? You both are vying. It makes perfect sense. You're both vying for the same things. Crawford has done no work at 54, no work at 160. So by beating a legitimate 168 pounder not named Canelo, it will show that Crawford's skill set has translated to a higher weight class. It'll show that his power is, you know, if he can beat someone like a Morrell, if he could beat someone like a Benavidez, it would just show that the Crawford we've always seen shows up in this higher weight class that we haven't seen him. But it seems like Crawford only wants to go after the cash cow. But again, everyone wants to fight the Floyd Mayweathers. Everyone wants to fight the Canelos and the Gervonta Davis. How you get a pass in line, you get to cut in front of people, and you're not even of that weight class. And then for Keyshawn, you have a person like Keyshawn Davis, and he's saying that Crawford should just, so despite the fact that Canelo ex-nayed the idea, and the Canelo went on record saying, I'm not fighting him, Keyshawn is suggesting that Crawford should just keep pursuing it. This generation in boxing definitely has me worried, because it seems like the Twitter fingers and tweeting and social media call outs impress this new generation, right? Where they think that's it. Like, it's not about actually getting the fight and if the fight's realistic and making the fight happen. It's, did you do your part to publicly make it look like you want the fight? And that seems in this new generation to be more important than actually, building your legacy, building your resume, etc. Why on earth would Crawford, who is not in the position to dictate to a Canelo, why would he not fight Jaron Ennis, someone in his weight class who's been calling him out? Got an answer. Like, it's not like Canelo hasn't addressed this. It's not like Canelo said, give me some time to think about it. Maybe in the past he said some of those things like, I don't know, we'll see what happens. Canelo has outright recently came out and suggested the Bud Crawford fight is a no-go. It's a non-issue because after further thinking, it doesn't benefit me. I am the only one taking risk here because I'm the bigger guy. I'm the guy that's been fighting at the higher weight. I'm Canelo Alvarez. Canelo can make money fighting just about anyone. And we know the biggest fight for Canelo, payday, you want payday. I know that. The biggest fight for him is David Benavidez. So if you're going to take a risk and fight David Benavidez, not a guy moving up 21 pounds. And then if he happens to look good or win rounds, then you look bad because you just fought some guy that shouldn't have been in there and they had any level of success with you. This, to me, this freak show fights in people's active career, that's not what boxing should be about. But I find it mind-boggling that Keyshawn Davis is suggesting that his boy not fight Jaron Ennis, and he didn't come out and say don't fight Jaron Ennis, but he has said in the past things like that advocate for Bud to, like, oh, Bud's looking for the bigger fight, which is the same thing Crawford's team is saying. And this is literally, it's like I'm living in a multiverse in boxing. It's like I'm living in some sort of alternate universe where boxing fans who claim to be boxing fans, you would rather Canelo keep barking up you would rather Crawford keep barking up the Canelo tree despite Canelo already saying I'm not fighting him, than to actually fight and become 3x undisputed by beating a young up-and-comer who says he has the antidote for your sickness in Jaron Boots Ennis. This is shocking. This is shocking. And the best people can do is say, oh, Crawford's earned it. Crawford, he has the ability to call his shots. He's a boss. He should be able to do. So David Avocado in December of 2022, virtually 2023, because it was the last month of the year. So almost about a year ago, a year and a month, David Avocado was a worthy foe for Terence Crawford, but Jaron Ennis isn't. And then you have Crawford's brigade, in the way of Keyshawn or whoever, saying, because the Errol Spence fight, the WBC, check out my video on that. They said that, to their knowledge, the Errol rematch is not happening next. But then you have the Bud Buddies and Crawford's team. They're dismissive of Jaron Ennis, and a member of his team, basically Keyshawn Davis, and fighter. As a fighter, instead of seeing Bud challenge himself with the next available person who's actually calling him out, like Jaron Ennis, you would rather him keep calling out Canelo and get nowhere? I mean, that doesn't make sense. That's nonsensical. We've seen Demetrius Andrade for years taunt Canelo, call Canelo the B word. He's pulled up to Canelo's fights, like the Billy Joe Saunders fight, ran up on him at the post-fight press conference, and he never got the fight. Canelo literally said, "You're a horrible fight, horrible. Baby, get the out." And Canelo just laughed him out the room. So we do know certain things about Canelo Alvarez. We do know Canelo was in the driver's seat. Why would you rather see Terence Crawford at the last chapter of his career stay stagnant, waiting for the perfect opportunity? Tim Tszyu booked. He's fighting Keith Thurman. Some boxing industry insiders and analysts are saying Thurman could beat a guy like Tim Tszyu and or be Tim Tszyu's toughest fight. Jermell Charlo has some legal problems and he's coming off of a loss. Why do I want to see Crawford fight Jermell Charlo with all of that? Canelo already beat Charlo, and we haven't really heard much of him since then. Why I want to see Crawford, a pound for pound #1 fighter, move up in weight to fight a name off of a loss? But then there's an undefeated Jaron Boots Ennis, and he keep calling you out. And see, this is the thing. Crawford has said time and time again, when I was with Top Rank, they didn't want to give me the looks. They didn't want to give me the opportunities. Is that not what you're doing with Jaron Ennis? He's doing the same thing. He's calling out Errol, calling out you, saying he'll fight Barrios, saying he'll fight Stanionis, saying bring him to me. His dad, Bozy Ennis, saying the same thing. But Crawford's like, I'm at the point of my career where I want to pick and choose, and I don't give a F what anybody thinks. I don't care what people are saying. I'm going to pick and choose who I want to fight, right? And I've earned it. And this is this is the hypocrisy of the Bud Buddies. Boom. Crawford fighting Boots is a lose-lose situation. He says, I deserve to do whatever the F I want to do. These are Crawford's words, not Boxing Ego. You see it on the screen. I deserve to be able to do whatever the F I want to do. Fine. So if that's your standpoint, Canelo got more fights than you, better pay-per-view sales than you. He has a country behind him. He's a bigger star than you. So how is it okay for Crawford to be dismissive of a fight and say, I don't have to fight Boots. He's a lose-lose situation, Ego. I've earned the right to do whatever the F I want to do. But then Crawford pales in comparison to Canelo, resume-wise, star power-wise, A-side-wise. And Canelo has already ruled you out as an opponent. So let me get this straight. Crawford could do whatever the F he does. He could say that an up-and-comer is not worthy of a challenge because he's on to bigger and better things, and you know, he's fighting in small theaters and all these types of reasonings. But then the Bud Buddies, they say that Canelo must fight Crawford, and we know Canelo's the ace side. He must fight him. And Keyshawn Davis is saying it sounds like excuses when Canelo says, I ain't fighting this small dude because all the risk is on my back. So you guys let me know in the comment section, which I know you cannot do because I'm immaculate with the points. My talking points are impenetrable. I'm the best ever, and it's not even close. So you guys explain how Crawford has earned the right with his resume, with his stats, with his pay-per-view buys and stuff. He's earned the resume and the leverage or whatever, despite making bad decisions in his career, business-wise. He's earned the right to, quote, do whatever the F he want to do. But then the same fans, the Bud Buddies, are saying, and they're mad at Canelo Alvarez, like, oh, Canelo, you're scared. Why don't you just fight Crawford? Canelo gave you his rationale. He let you know why the Crawford fight doesn't make sense. And what he's saying here actually makes sense. He just fought a guy 14 pounds under, won every round, and then no one really gave him credit. So imagine a smaller guy who started off at 135, even lighter than Charlo started off at. What kind of credit would he get? So he's right. All the risk falls on Canelo's shoulders, and then the same people are not advocating for the Boots Ennis fight. This is just remarkable stuff. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. For me, this doesn't make sense because the same people resisting the Boots fight and coming up with all the reasons why Crawford shouldn't fight him had no problem with the David Avanesian fight. They have no problem saying that Canelo is ducking Crawford. They have no problem saying that Canelo is making excuses to not fight Crawford. But when Crawford, who, again, he said these guys play keep away from me, these PBC guys, when I was with Top Rank. But then you're not giving an opportunity to a young, hungry Jaron Boots Ennis. And I know a lot of you idiots, they want me to be wrong. They know I'm perfect. They know I'm great at what I do. So they're trying to find the loopholes and the flaws and contradictions in my speech, but you won't find any because I'm perfect at what I do. The reality is Crawford demanded and was salty that he didn't get the looks and the opportunities to fight the big names when he was with Top Rank. There's seemingly no obstacles between you and Boots, but yet and still you don't want to do it, and it's for 3X undisputed. Now all of a sudden it's like bigger and better things. But then again, you got people like Keyshawn Davis and they're like, oh, Canelo's making excuses. Okay, fight Boots in. Canelo's making excuses. Hopefully he fights Benavidez. Then what is Crawford doing versus Boots? And again, if you look at it, Canelo has definitely more leverage to do whatever the F he wants than Crawford. Boom.